Hey folks, James Brandon here. I'm a photographer living in Fort Worth, Texas, and I'm honored to share with you today my first installment of On One's Perfect Inspiration. And the theme of my Perfect Inspiration installment is passion. And that includes having passion for both what you're photographing and passion for how you photograph it and how you post process your images. Because it's really easy in today's age of getting things done fast and shortcuts here and there. It's really easy to be lazy or become complacent in your photography. You can get a really solid image out of your camera, and sometimes you're tempted just to leave it as is and not do any work to it. But I can tell you with confidence that probably 99% of the time there's still something you could do to it in post processing to make it a little bit better. And that doesn't mean that you have to go overboard or just, go crazy in post processing, but there's little things you can do to go out of your way to make an image better. And this is the image that we're going to be working with today. This is a Beechcraft Bonanza. And what I mean by having passion about what you're photographing is just this. I had the blessing of becoming a pilot recently. My father-in-law bought the family a little plane about a year and a half ago. It's a little Cessna 172. And for the last year to a year and a half, I've been working towards getting my pilot's license so that I could fly the plane. And I just got it about 2 weeks ago as of making this video. So obviously, aviation has become a growing passion of mine. And I've been working towards incorporating that into my photography ever since. And, I love it. I love planes. I love aviation. I love being out at the airport. And if I can have a camera in my hand and photograph the thing that I love, I'm in heaven. I'm good to go. So, with this image, I shot it for a client. They are going to have this plane featured in a magazine for an insurance company that wanted to feature this plane because this plane is in immaculate condition. The owner has flown this plane for over 30 years. And we took it out to Denton Airport. And I'll show you Denton Airport real quick over here on Google Earth. And the reason I'm showing this to you is just, I'll show you a few little things about the airport that we shot it at and how that relates to most airports. Most people think that most airports are like Dallas Fort Worth or LaGuardia or LAX, and they're really restrictive and you can't really do much at them. There's a lot of guidelines and regulations over them, and that's somewhat true of every airport. But these smaller airports, Denton Airport in Texas is a little bit north of the Dallas Fort Worth area, and it's what is considered a Class D airport. And Class D is just a little bit less restrictive than like Dallas Fort Worth, which is a Class B airport. And all that means is that there's not as much traffic going in and out of it. Although there is a fair amount of traffic at this airport, there's not near as much as like Dallas Fort Worth, where there's landings happening literally every minute of every day of the year. But there's this main road here, and I'm just following it here with my mouse, that you can drive up to get to the airport. And there's a parking lot here. And I'll zoom in a little bit closer here. And right here is the control tower. But you can any person can come up, park their car, and go into the little building here. This is an FBO where pilots can come to flight plan and rest. But any person can come into the lobby here and then walk out here and see all these planes out here. Now, you have to be courteous because these are people's airplanes, and you don't want to go photographing them without somebody's permission. It's just rude. I mean, you could technically do it, but it really isn't the right thing to do, and you might get run off if you don't ask permission. But if you see a plane and you see a person, walking out to it, you can ask them to photograph it, and most of the time they're going to let you, especially if you offer to, send them a copy of the image once it's done. But if I zoom in a little closer here, you can see this little yellow line here. And if I go down here, you can see it a little bit better that it's got a solid yellow line and then a dashed yellow line. And what that means is that both planes, vehicles, and people are not allowed to go past the solid yellow line without a clearance from the control tower here. So you can walk all through this area here without any clearance, without any having to get any kind of permission. You just have to have common sense and keep your head on a swivel, because there are going to be planes moving through this area from time to time. So you just have to be smart. But you can come all the way down here and see how this line continues. And this building right here is another FBO, and it's a flight school as well. And they always have a lot of planes parked out here. And I like shooting on this tarmac right here because it's nice and black, and there's not a whole lot of clutter in the background. So you can set planes up right here and shoot to the west and have the setting sun in the background. And if you come down here a little bit further, you'll see the solid and dashed line here, and then a double yellow line here. And then you can see the taxiway lines coming in right here. So if I go back to Lightroom, you'll see the solid and dashed yellow line, the double yellow lines here, and the taxiway. So now you can see exactly where I shot this airplane. And you can see in the background that there's not a whole lot of anything to disrupt or pull your attention away from the plane itself. And we just waited till the sun, got down on the horizon here to shoot it at just the right moment. But not everything always goes as according to plan, as you know. And all I mean by that is that we got the plane set up. We didn't have a lot of time. We're kind of rushed because we want to get the sun just in the right position over the horizon. And you forget things from time to time. So I was actually set up on top of a fuel truck. I had the FBO bring out a fuel truck. I just asked him if I could use it and climb on top of it to get kind of an elevated position. And we got I got on top of the fuel truck. I got my camera set up, and I started taking pictures. And then as the sun dipped below the horizon, I forgot to ask the owner of the airplane to turn the lights on the plane. And that's not required by any means, but I always like to have the lights turned on because it just adds a little bit of extra kind of oomph to your photo. So what we did was I had already taken the shot. I had taken a few different angles, and then I remembered to have that I needed to have the lights turned on. So I asked the owner to go in, run inside the cockpit, pull the master switch, and turn the lights on. So I took a second photo here, and the problem was that I had already switched angles. I'd already switched, the zoom of my lens. So I was really just guessing and trying to get as close as I could. But I had the owner, turn the rotating beacon on here in the back, turn the navigation light on the wingtip fuel tank here, and then I had her turn on the taxi light here on the front. But it's obviously not in the same position as the other photo, and to make matters worse, it's not even the same size or taking up the same amount of space in this photo. So I'm going to have to get a little bit creative in post-processing if I want to combine the image from before with the sun and then this image with the lights. So the last problem that I had was on this photo. I lost a bunch of detail here in the sky because the sun. It was really bright. There weren't any clouds in the sky like I had hoped. So in Lightroom, I created a virtual copy of that same photo, and then I just darkened it a bit. You can see over here on the right, I pulled down the exposure, I bumped up the contrast a bit, I increased the vibrance and the saturation, and then I added a gradient over the image. You can see that here, and that just, I increased the temperature and just added a gradient to the sky there just to warm it up a bit. So here are the three images that we're going to use now in Perfect Photo Suite. So I will select this first image here, and then I'll hold down Shift and click the last image, and go to File, Plug in Extras, and we'll take it into Perfect Layers 3. So here we are in Perfect Photo Suite 7, and you have the three images over here on the right. And on the top is the image that we took with the lights turned on. If I turn that off, it'll show the image where I made it a little bit darker to bring in the details for the sky. And then the other one, which is the original file, and that is the one for the foreground of the plane. So what we want to do in the next little bit is blend the sky in from this image and then blend the lights in from this image. And I'll show you how you can do that in Perfect Photo Suite. So starting with this image here, all I really want from this image is the details in the sky. I don't want any of this grass really. I don't want any of the tarmac or the plane because it's all just too dark. So all I need is the sky. And to do that, I will take my masking bug here. And this is the same bug that you would find in Focal Point. And the best way to do this, in my opinion, is just to click somewhere in the image. And you can see now, I can drag this around, and we can see that wherever the grid is for the focus bug, it's actually getting brighter. And anywhere outside of the grid is getting darker. So the middle of the grid is masking through to the image below. And what I want to do is actually invert that to where wherever the grid is actually making it darker. And now I can turn this and just cover the sky, move it up here, and that's pretty much it. From here, I probably want to make it a little bit harder of an edge for the mask because I don't see exactly the change that I want to see. So to do that, I'll come down to all layers and go to mask, and you can use any of these, but I like to do white. And now I can see that there is a very, very gradual feather on this mask, and I need a lot harder edge than that. So I'll go up here to my feather and just bring it down and get it to where I want it. And you can go all the way over, but I usually, for a skyline where it's not, very complicated, like this one, I'll usually go all the way over and then just bring it back a little bit. So probably right there. All right, then we'll go back to all layers, and then I can just drag that wherever I want. Sometimes it's really hard to get it straight like that, but you can get it straight and then hold down Shift, and then you can just move it up and down freely. All right. Maybe a little higher, probably right there, and that looks good to me. So we're done with that part. So the next thing we want to do is start masking in the lights from this other plane. And I want to make a note that this isn't possible with every photo, but in this I'll show you why it is. Because sometimes, pixel by pixel accuracy is very important. Most of the time it is. But sometimes you can get by with just being a little bit off. And I'll show you what I mean here. I'll go ahead and turn this layer on. And you can see right off the bat that the image is not aligned at all. So we have a lot of issues here. And the plane isn't even in the same shot from the same angle, and it's not the same size even. So I can't just, line the image up and then mask in all three lights at once. So what I'm going to have to do is create duplicates of each image, or of this top image 3 times, one for each light that I want to mask in, and do them separately. So I'll hit Command J, just like if you're in Photoshop. I'll hit it 3 times, or 2 times, and then turn those off for now, and just go to this one. So the way that I like to do this is I'll drag the opacity back so that I can see both layers pretty equally. And then if you hit V, it'll bring up the transform tool. And then I'll just move this image with the light on it and move it in place. So the first light I'm going to do is the light on the wingtip fuel tank here. So I'll zoom in by hitting Command plus on a Mac. And then if you go over here to your navigator, you can just drag this over to the wingtip. And now I'm just going to align that. And you can see how it's pretty close. I mean, you don't have to be exact on this image. So I'm just going to get it to where it looks really close to where it should be. And then leave it there. And then I'll hit apply. And I'll bring my opacity back up to 100%. And then I'll get my mask out. Or I'm sorry, that was my healing brush. Get my mask out. And then I want to invert this layer to cover it up. And then I'm going to hit X. And if you look up here on mode, that's going to change over to paint in. And I just want to paint in the light from that image below. Just like that. And if you see that it's off a little bit, again, because it's not in the same place, you can go back to transform and then use your arrow keys to align it a little bit better there, like so. Hit apply and go back to my masking bug. And we'll just bring in as much of this light as we can. As you can see, it's got a little starburst effect there. All right, I'll bring my opacity down on my brush, probably around 60. And then I'm going to switch back to paint out and then go in between the lines here. Because you can see that the asphalt is just a little bit brighter on that bottom image. So we'll try to make that look a little bit better. And then you just want to touch it up and get it looking good. And that should do it right there. All right, if we hit Command 0 to zoom out, you can see that we now have the light there. So I'll do these next two here fairly quickly. So we'll turn that layer on, opacity back, we'll zoom in. Let's go up to the rotating beacon now. Zoom in a little closer. All right, hit V for transform. And then we want to bring the light up to probably right there. Zoom in a little bit more and make sure it's lined up nicely. Right there. All right, hit apply and opacity back to 100. And you can see just how off it is if I go back and forth. But again, I'll show you that it's going to work just fine on this image. So mask, invert, and then paint in, and then just paint it right in, just like that. And we'll go around to get the starburst effect in there, like so, and then paint out and go in between them. That was a little bit too hard, so I'll increase my feather and bring back my opacity a little bit. I'm sorry, I decreased my feather instead of increasing it. There we go. And you just want to do this gradually. Get the starburst effect in there good. All right, and now we'll drag over with the navigator to this taxi light. Turn this top layer on. Bring back the opacity. And transform with V. And just place it as close as you can. Probably right there should do it. Apply. Get our mask out, invert it. And with this one, I'm going to take my feather back a little bit and then increase my opacity. And now I just want to kind of pop the light into place there. Bring back my opacity on the layer here. And that's just going to bring the light source in. And you can see that the asphalt isn't red on that bottom image because the sun had gone down. So for that, you just need to make your brush smaller, go back to paint in, and just go over the asphalt there. Just like so. And now Command 0 takes us out, and now you can see that the image is complete with the lights. So we have the sky and the lights, and now all we have to do is a little bit of touch-up work. So from here, I'll go up to my my mask, or I'm sorry, my layer, and then I want to create a new stamped layer from all of the ones below that I can work with. So the first thing I noticed about the image is the chocks here. They were over the tire, and we just pulled them out of the shop, but it looks like I didn't get them enough out of the shop. So I'll go to my mask, or my healing brush, make the size a little bit bigger, and then we'll just draw over that, and boom, gone. You can see it got a little bit darker there, so you can just go over it a couple times, see if that fixes it. All right, I think that looks good there. And the last thing I want to do is as far as healing goes is go up to my corners and fix some of these dust spots. So there are a lot of them. So just tap over each of those, and I can spend all day finding dust spots, but I'll just get the main ones out for the purpose of the video. Just drag over to the left side. Okay, that looks pretty good there. All right, zoom out, Command J on a Mac to duplicate that layer. And the last thing I want to do is take it over into Perfect Effects real quick, just to finish it off. So we'll go into Effects, and the first thing I want to do is find the magic category filters. I can just type that into the search box up there. And these are just some quick filters that'll boost different kinds of images. So you can see Magic Forest, Magic Ocean. I think Magic Desert might look pretty good on this one. All right, and I like that. It's just a little bit too harsh, so I'll pull back the opacity. I like to go between 100 and 0, and then just kind of go back and forth and just get it to where it looks just right. Probably about right there. All right, and we'll create a new layer. So we'll add another one. And then I want to just add a little bit of sharpening. So there should be one called a high pass in here somewhere. Right there, high pass sharpen. So we'll add that. And that's probably going to go overboard, as you can see. And again, you just drag your opacity back to where you want it. Go back and forth to 0, 100, and just get it to where it just gives the image a little bit of a pop. All right, and I think that's pretty much it. So I'll hit apply, and while doing these effects over here, I've noticed that that chalk mark really didn't turn out as nice as I'd want it to, so I'll fix that. But that is pretty much it for this image. That's going to take us back to layers. And now we have all of our layers here that we've worked on. And then to send this back to Lightroom, I'll just hit save after I fix the chalk mark. But that's it. So thanks for watching, and let me know if you have any questions. And I'll be sure to include the Perfect Effects layers that I added. I'll include those in a preset if anybody wants to use those for future images. So thanks, and have a good one.